Hello, everybody. It's Angie Pettyjohn of the Pettyjohn Team of Mortgage Alliance. Today's episode of Mortgages, Money, and More, I'm joined with Betty Hildebrand and Sharon Ruddy of IG Private Wealth Management, both financial advisors and good friends of mine. Thank you so much for joining us today. And before we get started, I just want to do a disclaimer to make sure everybody understands that this is not personal advice that we're giving today. It's just overview and many times our opinions and our experience. If anybody is seeking financial advice, please reach out to Betty and Sharon at any time. And at the end of this episode, we will give you their information. But again, this is if it is personal matter, then reach out to them directly. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hey, awesome. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have such powerful women on our team.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah. This has been a long time in the making, I feel. My team, your team, we really do have lots of synergies and super excited about this. So I wanted to start by asking you, if you wouldn't mind, well, what sets you two apart from the rest? I mean, that's probably a common question, and I know the answer, but let's share that. Do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So maybe we'll just introduce ourselves and tell you a little bit of ourselves, and then that sort of leads into how we ended up together and building our own practice. So myself, I spent the last 20 plus years at two major banks in Canada as an advisor is how I started. So actually as a financial planner, and both Sharon and I are designated financial planners. And then I moved into some head office corporate roles and ended up managing private wealth management at the end. And that's actually where Sharon and I met. So maybe I'll pass it over to her then.
Yeah, as Betty said, we both spent our careers, the majority, if not all of our careers, in wealth management and working for some of the largest institutions in Canada in all different types of roles. So we started as advisors, we managed head office initiatives for advisors, and then had a full circle moment during the pandemic where we, after being in the business for so long and seeing, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the business, we said there's good opportunities for us to be able to service clients in a very meaningful and a different way. So Angie, you asked us what sets us apart. I think, we'll talk a lot today about our approach, but one of the things that we really was one of our core values as we went into this business together was looking at wealth management and wealth health in a way that's just not just numbers on a page. So we don't ask clients what you have, we ask clients who you are. And we have a discovery process that's very much about who that client is and what's important to them, and not just what are the numbers on the page.
And I think when you say 20 plus years in the business, we really have a well-rounded experience to bring all of those parts of wealth management together. And that was sort of, we thought, what the positive we could bring into our relationships with our clients, and also just be able to help in a way that we think that there's a gap in terms of the full financial plan and making sure that we're there ahead of life's unexpected.
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, we've seen a lot of adversity, especially over the last 3 years. These rate hikes are making things really impossible for many homeowners, many individuals who want to become homeowners. So on that note, like, what kinds of adversity are you seeing, and how are you helping out your clients and just to help them out, make ends meet, actually?
And I think it comes, the word we use is financial vulnerabilities. And what that actually means is the ability to absorb a financial shock. And that really is what it is, what you've been talking about over the last 5 years or 3 years, the financial crisis, and then just personal adversity. We go through divorces, we go through illnesses, and we go through, unfortunately, death does happen. And what we talk about is how to prepare yourself for that. So a lot of people don't like to talk about these things because they're very uncomfortable. And I think given our experience just with life ourselves, we know we need to have more people have these uncomfortable conversations so that they are prepared to face life's or financial vulnerability.
Yeah, that's really important. Sorry, Sharon, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think around that financial vulnerability piece, we talk a lot about, what does it mean to help clients with some of those financial vulnerabilities or blind spots? And if we think about, the pandemic in particular, it's created a lot of uncertainty for people in all aspects of their lives. And so then when you bring that back to money, that feeling of uncertainty can become very overwhelming. And that's where people feel that vulnerability. If things happen in my life, as we all know they do, unexpected happens all the time, that vulnerability and that not knowing what would happen if those uncertainties were to take place is where we come in. So we can sit down with clients and help them build a roadmap and help them understand that if these uncertainties were to happen, or these what ifs, and sometimes the uncertainties are positive, they're not always negative, but what are those opportunities that you can take advantage of? And if an uncertainty happens that's not so positive, how do you weather that storm? And how do you make sure that you know with confidence that you can get through that?
Exactly.
I was wondering if you have an example of somebody that you have helped, and just to bring it home a little bit, because sometimes when we give an example, it really it can spark something with someone.
For sure.
Yeah. Please.
I was gonna say the example, I always think of myself in the first example. We help clients with all kinds of different life events, as Betty said. One that we, I guess, have a particular passion around, and I think it's because of our passion around helping women when it relates to wealth, is divorce. And divorce is one of those things that unfortunately it happens. And it happens a lot on the heels of a pandemic, and it creates a lot of financial uncertainty, as we spoke about earlier, and it creates a lot of financial overwhelm, because when you go through a divorce, and I did myself 10 years ago, and the reason I use that as an example is I'm someone who's in the business. So even being in the business and having the knowledge and having the expertise, it was incredibly overwhelming from a financial perspective. Forget about all the other emotional things you're going through. Then you have to sit down and say, am I going to be able to afford to stay in the house that I, raised my children in? Am I going to be able to afford to continue on with the lifestyle that, our family's been accustomed to? How much money are we going to be spending, with lawyers and whatnot? And so when we walk clients through that, and we have examples of clients we've worked with recently, where we just help them take a step back and say, okay, for sure, divorce is not a financially enhancing situation. However, there are things you can do to rebuild, regain that financial
confidence, and it's just be able to bring your life back to where you intended on being in the first place. And that's really where financial planning comes in. I know that that word is used just so liberally, but if you have a real financial plan where you could go, okay, that's it, we're divorced, here's where I'm starting again. I don't see how I'm ever getting to retirement. I wanted a cottage. How am I going to get there? Like, all your dreams take a, you feel like you're taking a step back, but to be able to give people the clarity of like, here's where you're at, and it's likely better than where you think you're at, or, and this is how we have to make our way. And that's what gives people that peace of mind. Again, overused word, but we had a client recently where we did a financial plan. There wasn't a life-changing moment for this, but it was just a lot of things in a lot of places, 3 young children, businesses. And for that person, when they saw the plan, it was like, okay, I'm there. Like, that's
be okay.
Okay. If I do everything else wrong, I know I've made it this far. So they certainly weren't anywhere near the end goal, but it's that feeling of like, okay, I know where I am. And I think that's what a lot of people lack, is that everything is all over the place. We all think our neighbor has some magic strategy that we don't. We all look around, and money's such a secret, which is, another thing that we're really trying to have people come to the table and be comfortable with talking about
Good point.
their own money. Because money has such a personal story to it. And we find that most of our personal story comes from our parents, and the first thing we were told or not told, hid from about money. So Yeah, so we're trying to bring that conversation to the forefront so that we're having vulnerable conversations about vulnerable subjects.
Yeah.
And I find for myself and my team, people don't know what comes first. Do I speak to the financial advisor? Do I speak to the mortgage person? Do I speak to the lawyer? And I always say, at the very least, let's start with myself as the mortgage broker and with my team, and then of course, build out your power team from there. Our services, our services are free up front. So rather than going to the lawyer first and then them backtracking and coming to us, it kind of makes more sense to build the power team from us outward, and meaning yourselves as well.
Right.
And it's so important, I feel, for all clients to really understand their numbers. Let's just go through the numbers. Because how do you know where to end up if you don't know where you are?
Absolutely.
And then, right. So I know that's why we work so well together, is we're aligned on that. And our passion for just helping to get the client from A to Z, and making sure that they've got the right pieces in place along the way is very, very important for all of us. And it creates almost a seamless, I guess, process for the client. Right? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's the reason why we're connected, and the reason why we work together with so many of our partners, is we believe that partnership and the communication between these partnerships. How do our clients know if they need a variable mortgage or fixed mortgage if they don't talk to you? And how do you know their financial situation to make that choice if you don't talk to us? So it's very important to have a partnership. And I think that leads to, Sharon always talks about this, the difference between a financial plan or an investment plan and an actual financial plan, where you're bringing in all these partners, specialists, and resources to make sure you have that robust team around you.
Yeah.
When we talk about, if I sort of talking a little bit about what we do and how we're different, but, everyone's focused on the investments, because let's face it, that's
the sexy thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing
Yeah.
that everybody gets excited about, particularly when markets are doing well. Right. And that's
Yes.
important. We've spent our entire careers in that space. And so, listen, that's table stakes. It's very important. But what's really the sort of the piece that people sometimes forget is that financial plan. And so an investment plan is a point in time. It's numbers on a page. And Angie, to sort of use an example that's, maybe resonant with your type of clients, is it's almost like if you were to go and build a house and you brought in the interior designer first. That's the fun stuff. Like, let's pick all the furniture, right? But you haven't built the framework yet. You haven't built the layout of the
Love
house.
it. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Like, that's what the financial plan does. Yeah, the investments are fun, and we can talk about that all day, every day. But let's talk about the foundation, and that's the financial plan. And it's not always as fun, because that's where you really have to sort of, open up the kimono and say, okay, let's take a look here. What do we really have going on? And that's where the vulnerability piece for clients comes in. And that's why when we sit down with clients, I think our approach is very much that, it's judgment free. Number one, that's important. It's an environment where there's a lot of trust, just like with you and your clients. When they come in to see you, they're exposing their full financial picture. So that trust is so important. And then that's where you can then, when you get to the investments or get to bringing in the interior designers,
right,
you know that the foundation's in place. And so now we're having fun, but we know that we've got a strong foundation.
Exactly.
And when you're doing their financial plan, it incorporates everything, correct? Like the insurance needs, everything. Like a few years back, there was a horrible story. One of my friends' husband, he had lost his job, and he felt that they couldn't afford the insurance, and unfortunately, he ended up with cancer. And he ended up passing away, and he left his family with a massive debt. And I'll never forget that story, because sometimes we think we can't afford it. And I don't know if you want to speak on that. I know it's kind of morbid, but like,
no, we have to have these conversations, unfortunately. And you probably just saw us sighing and taking deep breaths. We see it too much. And we have this conversation with every single client, because we have seen over the years, just in every single possible way, the vulnerabilities affect people negatively, or if the planning was there, really be able to change their lives moving forward. So insurance planning is a massive part of our business. We believe everybody should at least have the conversation, because everybody, people are afraid to have these conversations. It's uncomfortable saying that your husband may pass away at some point, and you need to understand what you need to move towards retirement. Do you want to stay in the house that you want to be in? There is something that we could do now that costs minimal to be able to leave so much future financial shock. Yeah. So
it is shock. You're right.
It is shock. So I think that's a big part of our practice, is making sure that we put in, life's going to happen, and we're happy to be here to like catch everybody when they fall, but we'd really like to put the parachute in place before that happens. So it's tough to go through times when people are ill. Sometimes we have children that we're taking care of, and elderly parents, and then something unexpected happens, and it's just sort of the worst situation. But if you're able to navigate those and not have to worry about your financial stress, which, let's not be honest, it's huge, then we totally want to make that happen for our clients.
And I think it goes back to the planning and why the plan's so important. I don't want to belabor the point, but it's important to say, that difference between the investment plan and the financial plan. When we talk about, and Angie, you brought it up, when we talk about things like death, which is an inevitable, and the financial impact that can have if it's not well planned for. We talk about it in terms of risk mitigation. So we look at clients and say, here's the different risks that could derail your financial plan or your financial confidence. And here's the strategies you can use. So the risk mitigation, there's also ways to leverage some of these strategies to not only mitigate risk, but also enhance what you do have. And when I think back to that, this whole notion of the investments, and you could have somebody who's got a great investment portfolio, and so they've done phenomenally well. They've picked all the right investments. They're riding the markets, beating the markets, and all as well. But if they don't have a risk management plan in place, and God forbid something happens, who cares? Because that portfolio may be worth half as much, right? We all know the T word, tax. And there's a lot of strategies that you can use to keep more money in your estate, in your pocket. So it's where the real value of the conversation comes in. How do you use those strategies? And when I think about risk mitigation, death is the one that comes to mind most often. But the reality is, and listen, we don't want to be doom and gloom here because there's a lot of great things, but the reality is you're more likely to be living with an illness, be that a chronic illness or, God forbid, a critical illness, and managing, and what that does to a family. And we've seen the positives of planning for that. Like, I have a very good friend of mine who at a very young age, unfortunately went through, a cancer diagnosis. They had critical illness insurance in place. And what that allowed for their family in terms of being able to take the time off to be together as a family. And thankfully it's this is 13 years later, and it's all good. But during that time, just seeing that how that planning piece allowed them to have a different way to approach that situation. You see the value in those situations. So it's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes those planning strategies allow families to take that deep breath and be able to chart a different course when they're going through choppy waters.
I really wish, and I hope the audience understands this from us. I really wish people understand that insurance is not a taboo.
No,
it's there to help us. And in fact, first-time home buyers, for example, when you're young, when you're in your 20s, please go speak to Betty and Sharon. You have like
Compared
it's
to what
so
you're offering
cheap.
to get.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so cheap. And I truly believe that in speaking to professionals like yourselves, and just have a plan for it. I love that you say it's a risk mitigation tool that you have. Have a plan for this so that when you do have that property, you're not signing some silly mortgage insurance that the bank is giving you, which you
Yeah.
know, it's good for the time being, but there's so many better products out
It's
there
a
that you can
Band-Aid,
introduce
it's
them
not
to.
surgery. Yeah, it's
Yeah. No, I truly support that, and the sooner the better people talk to you, and I just wish people stop thinking it's such taboo, you know.
Yeah, it's funny because even it's
Yeah.
funny that it has
Yeah.
that, it's changing a lot, but we work with a lot of high net worth clients and they have a different view on insurance. So it's funny,
Yeah.
we're actually hosting a seminar for some clients around this. And what happens with a lot of high net worth individuals who are heavily taxed, they use this as a tax strategy.
Yes.
And so the simple example we use all the time with clients is the family cottage. Everybody loves the family cottage, and some of these family cottages have been in the families for generations. And as we look at the baby boomers and you know, as property prices have appreciated the way they have, people want to leave those cottages in the family. So what they do is they say, okay, well, you know, Johnny's going to get the RSPs and Sally's going to get the cottage. And all of a sudden what they don't realize is that Sally's getting a tax bill for the gains over, you know, that cottage, you know, when it was
So
Sally
now owes $500,000, and she's not so happy about the gift she got.
Yeah.
It's in a down market in
Right.
the middle of winter.
So now Sally has this huge tax liability. And what we help clients do, and a lot of clients do this, is, you know, you have adult children and one day they're going to inherit that cottage, and it's a great sizable asset. So we say, okay, well, why don't you have Johnny and Sally pay the premiums on this joint last to die policy, so that when both of the spouses die and now the cottage passes on to the beneficiaries, the tax liability is covered through the insurance. And guess what? Sally and Johnny, the kids, the adult children, paid the premiums on it. So everybody's happy. Sally and Johnny have this great cottage that they get. They don't have a tax liability. And so there's lots of different things you can do. It's a tool.
Well, I was gonna say that's a tool. And Angie, just to get back to what we start with is the person though. And that's what's important to Sally and Johnny's parents. It's realizing their dreams, right? And everybody's different. Some people are like, you know, what I want is this. And we're trying to bring dreams alive in every aspect. You don't like paying taxes? Great. We love tax efficiency. We believe in keeping as many dollars and stretching those dollars and making the most of them, whether it be with investments, whether it be with tax strategies, so that you're not having to go get an extra dollar, right? So we're trying to protect you and your assets, and always through good times and bad.
And when would you say is a good time for someone to come and see you? What point in their financial, I guess, life cycle?
Yeah, I think it's when, you know, we want to be able to help people with the experience that we have. So it changes for every single person. So, you know, is it business owners? We tend to say it's more complex needs. So you're building your wealth. To your point, you bought your first house, thinking about insurance. You know, right now we have excess cash flow. You know, what am I doing with that? How am I, you know, we're planning on children. How do we protect ourselves in that way? Or the other side is like, I mean, our clients just range from everybody to business owners who are cross-border, who have tax issues, who are trying to understand their different corporations. Our experience lends us to be able to take care of those complex issues and help people grow their wealth. So
and I love that.
Let's put it that way. There's never a bad time to take control of your wealth. And it's funny because having been in the industry for as long as we have, we've seen financial planning evolve as well. So it used to be a retirement plan. And if we think about the traditional life cycle was, okay, you go to school, you get married, you buy your first home, you have your child, then you retire. Well, come on, like life's not like that.
as we know.
families are not traditional. Life is not one dimensional, as we say in some of our marketing. Like life is dynamic, and it's not this. Like there is no one way to get to the end result. You know, most of our clients are mixed families, second families. There's all kinds of complexities that go along with financial planning for that. I mean, life, you've got elder care, you know, you're caring for children. It doesn't happen sequentially. Life doesn't happen sequentially, and it's not in this nice, neat little roadmap. So there's never a bad time to take stock of your financial health. And, you know, there's different points along your life where you might need our help more than others. But we have the expertise and experience, having been in the industry for as long as we have, to point you in the direction too, and bring in those other partners and experts. If it's not an area that we need to help with right at that moment, we love to be able to connect our clients, people that come to us, with other people who might be able to help them in that situation.
Yeah, well, we feel the same. What it makes me feel like is when you're developing your financial plan, it's not a one-time thing. Like you're really with the client from every phase that happens, the ups, the downs. You know, we talked about the blind spots or the financial vulnerabilities. But you guys are there along the way. Let's talk about something fun, like, you know,
Yes, please.
it's pretty serious.
Make it fun.
Yeah, let's make it fun. Like there's also things that happen, like when you have legacy planning and inheritance, and how about like winning the lottery and stuff, like fun stuff, right?
Do that.
Yeah, let's do that. I want to win the lottery.
Great, we've got an advisor for you.
Yeah, because that's right. Because we know that oftentimes when people win the lottery, they're broke after 3 years.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
Inheritance is very, very similar without the pre-planning. Yes.
Yeah. So at what point? So as a parent, right? You said about secrecy, financial secrecy.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be great to have parents coming with you with their children to say,
we're actually doing things like the estate planning dinner, where we sit around.
I love that.
Table, and I mean, obviously it's the comfortability of our clients and with their children, but like what you're saying is, you know, you don't know why your parents made certain decisions. And emotionally, I think this is when families really fall apart after a death, is like, you know, mom would have wanted me to have this, or, you know, I can't believe you even consider if you sit around the table and say, this is how we planned for it. We worked with Betty and Sharon, we worked with, you know, their estate lawyer, and decided that this is how we felt we are going to leave this to you and why. I think we would save so many generations of pain and questions and emotions.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great to I would love that, to leave this earth knowing that the decisions were made. I've had the discussion with both of my kids that this is, and then that there's not going to be any kind of rivalry or anything that is left for them to try to figure out. It's all up in the open. And I feel with both of your characters and your personalities, you really draw that out of people. And I feel that any families that do come to you would be just so pleased to have that. And you guys taking them under their wing, providing them with a full plan and, you know, one-stop shop, I feel. Is there anything else you want to leave us with today?
I think, you know, just what you said is our clients' trust in the people that are coming to us, their trust in that relationship for us means everything. We don't take it for granted. And we are really looking to build, you know, a lifelong relationships with our clients. We want to be there for them. So yeah, the trust is everything for us.
I think the one thing I would add that we haven't touched on today, and I think hopefully we get a chance maybe down the road to collaborate even further on this, is one of the pieces that was very pertinent in our decision to do what we've done is really bringing women to the wealth
Yes.
conversation.
I was just going to ask that.
Yes, it's a passion of ours.
Yeah.
Listen, we've worked in this industry, as we said earlier, and we saw women coming to the table, but not as much as we wanted them to, and not in as meaningful a way. And the thing is, when you have this knowledge is power, and we want to help women feel comfortable and do it in a way that's more fun. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
There's different ways to have the conversation. You talked about it earlier, Angie, like have fun, and that's important to us. But we really do have a unique passion about making sure we serve women in a way that helps elevate them around their wealth.
Yeah, and that's why I'm feel so connected to you guys, because that's also our passion as well. You know, we have a team with Victoria, Naomi, Kelsey, myself, our social media manager, Caitlin, like such powerful young women. And beyond what I do with my clients, I feel that my purpose has really been to empower the next generation to take a step forward, be business owners, you know, take on some serious financial businesses where, you know, even with myself, I remember sitting down and the first mortgage, the financial advisor at one of the banks looked at my husband and didn't even consider me as a valuable partnership in that home. Just looked at him and like I was the one making more money back then. So it was kind of ironic, right? And I think we have a lot to give in that aspect to other women, whether it is to help them with their personal financial, their finances, whether it's just to empower them to make a next step in their own, whatever it is, their own goals and paths that they have to do. Like your daughter's looking at you, seeing you is empowering. I think there's a lot more to come for all of us. And I'm just 100%. so grateful that we've all connected. And, you know, I wish you all the many blessings that to come your way.
Thank you.
Likewise,
Angie.
Angie.
Absolutely. We're very grateful we've met you.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you so much, guys. This will conclude our episode 3 actually of Mortgages, Money and More. Thank you so much, Sharon and Betty. And I know the audience is going to get lots of great nuggets here. Do you what is your Instagram handles, or how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so SB Private Wealth is our Instagram handle, and www.elevateyourwealth.ca is our website, and you can have our numbers are there and our contact information are there.
Fantastic, and we'll also share it in email as well. All right, ladies, thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Bye.